Hi, Brian from Tallman Minis here. In this video, I would like to show you how to paint the various helmets that the Blood Angels army use. That includes the yellow of Close Combat Squads, the gold of Veteran and Command, and the blue of Devastator and Heavy Weapons. So to start here, I have 3 helmets, each primed with Vallejo polyurethane primer, both white and black. To keep this video brief, I will be painting directly onto the primer. If, like me, you don't normally mask off helmets during the base painting stage, a thin coat of Corax white or heavy charcoal just before applying the base colours works just as well. Using Citadel's base colours are the best here. For yellow, I'm going to use GW Averland Sunset. You want your layers to be as thin as possible and evenly applied in order to get a good solid colour. So thin the mix with a good brush of water, but not so thin that you have a wash. I'm using a size 0 brush here, and I start applying the paint in one direction and as evenly as I can. This layer will dry fast, but try not to go over the painted areas and don't let it pull or settle into any puddles in the recesses. Your second layer can be slightly thicker than the first, and this should give you a nice even yellow. But if you prefer, you can just keep applying several thin coats. For Devastator helmets, I use GW Macragge Blue. I thin this colour slightly more than I did the yellow and apply 3 thin coats. Blue's a very bold colour, and this method gives you a nice even finish. So with our blue and yellow base coats done, let's move on to the gold. Here I use my own custom gold mix. I'm going to be using 2 parts GW Retributor armour and 1 part Vallejo metal gold. On their own, I find one gold is too red and the other is too green, but mixed together you get a really nice rich gold that's pre-thinned, has a high pigment count and excellent coverage. As a guide, I'm using an old size 0 brush here. I take 2 brushfuls and add 1 drop of metal gold and make sure to give it a good mix. You can see here it just glides on and it's the perfect consistency. You rarely need a second coat, but if you do, the high pigment count of the 2 combined paints allows you to thin this mix better than the normal metallic colour. With our 3 helmets base coated, I give the areas I want to be black a thin coat of Vallejo charcoal grey and the lenses a base coat of Vallejo heavy black green. And then I give them 2 coats of Vallejo polyurethane gloss varnish. For the wash, I'm going to use Winton ivory black mixed with a few drops of Sansador thinner. I'm a big fan of strong contrasts, that's why I use a black wash. But you can try brown wash like Agrax Earthshade or sepia tone if you prefer. I'm only going to apply the wash to the faceplate, the blacked out tubes on the side, and the vent on the top of the helmet. Gloss varnish allows the wash to flow off your brush and give everything a nice black outline. Once dry, to seal the wash, just give it a quick coat of gloss varnish. Shade yellow, I like to use GW Contrast Iyanden yellow and paint it into the ridges along the top, side and back of the helmet. There's no need to thin this, I'm applying it directly from the pot and it acts like a glaze and builds up stronger and stronger with each coat. I think I applied 2 coats here. Do remember, like all contrast paints, allow it to fully dry before applying your second coat. To highlight, I'm going to use GW Mad Gitz Yellow. I concentrate my highlights on the forward facing areas like the ridges above and below the lenses, and the ridges to the side. For blue, I had to use GW Drakenhof Nightshade as I don't have a dark enough contrast blue. I tried to apply it in a similar way, but I wasn't quite happy with the results. I don't think the recesses are deep enough to hold it evenly on the gloss varnish. So I gave the helmet one quick layer of AK Ultra Matte varnish and found that the wash applied much more like a paint, and I was much happier. It's not my finest shading work, but once again, under the 3-foot rule, it looked fine. I give my Devastator helmets 2 highlights. The first is going to be Vallejo Game Heavy Blue, and I just concentrate on the same areas as the previous helmet. Finally, I give it a second highlight of GW Lothern Blue. Shading gold is actually the easiest of the 3 here. I start by applying contrast Guilliman flesh into the helmet ridges just like the previous 2. You may need 2 layers, possibly 3, but I think 2 works the best as we will be applying a wash next. That wash is going to be GW Reikland Flesh Shade. Don't overload your brush, but give it a nice even coat and get it to settle into the recesses along with the contrast paint. I think it gives a really good shading effect, much like glazing but without the effort. Now, I quite like the effect that matte varnish has on metallics, so you may want to skip this step and stick with gloss, but I've given this a coat of ultra matte varnish. Here I'm applying a first highlight of scale 75 Elven Gold. This is a very subtle highlight, but combined with the second, it's going to really enhance the gold colour of the helmet. Next, I apply a second highlight of Vallejo Metal Gold. Now this is a very fluid airbrush paint, so please be careful, don't overload your brush or it's just going to flow off and flood the area. You really need to make sure you've wiped off the excess first and be gentle with your edge highlights. I think this gives a really nice, varnished but bright gold effect. I just love it. We're almost done. Finally, the eye lenses. I like to start by giving a small highlight of Vallejo Game Goblin Green. Angle your mini and the brush so that you're painting this highlight from in to out, meaning paint towards the back of the helmet. Try to get yourself comfortable and relax. I suffer from a bad back due to my height, so what's comfortable for one mini or even one lens isn't comfortable for the next. So this was quite hard to film. I apologise if it's not the greatest quality. So now it's the dreaded white dot. I promised I would try and get this in my next video, so here goes. I'm going to be using Vallejo Game Dead White. Get your white paint thinned just a little. Too thin and it's going to flood the eye socket. Too thick and it's just going to blob on. Don't overload your brush. Wipe off the excess and keep it perpendicular to the lens. If you angle it too much, it may appear more like a line than a dot. Look at that, I've only gone and bloody done it. I'm actually quite proud I managed to do it for all 3 helmets, although I've probably used up all my luck for the rest of the year. Now, the last thing I do here is I take a very old brush and I very gently paint on some thinned down gloss varnish on my gold highlights. This protects them and it also helps to enhance the shine. If you do prefer a full metallic look here, you can just give your helmet a quick blast of gloss from the airbrush. And with that, you're done. So there you have 3 great recipes for all the Blood Angel helmet variants. I hope this has been of use to you, and if it has, please throw me a like, leave a comment, or subscribe to my channel for more videos like this in the future. I have a ton of miniatures to paint, so there's going to be plenty more. Either way, enjoy your painting, have fun, and see you soon.